Cargo Bay 12 was loud, filled with the clank of metal crates and the low hum of docking engines. Ryan moved between stacks, scanning shipment tags and checking manifests. The air smelled of burnt fuel and alien spices. Workers shouted in different languages, loading and unloading supplies for ships bound for distant worlds. In the middle of the noise, he noticed her again, the small figure in a dusty gray hoodie, sleeves hanging long over her hands, hood pulled low to hide her face. She carried a crate that looked heavier than she was. Her steps were steady, not stumbling like most new workers. Ryan had seen her here for 3 days straight, always alone, never speaking unless necessary. She never lingered in the break area, never joked with the others. It was as if she wanted to be invisible. Still, something about her movements made Ryan pause. She was quick, but not rushed, balanced, but not cautious. Like someone who had been trained for something more than stacking cargo. He scanned another crate but kept glancing at her. She finished unloading her stack and walked away without a word. Later that shift, Ryan found himself in a restricted corridor near the east airlocks. Only security staff were allowed here, but he sometimes used it as a shortcut. Halfway through, he saw her again, standing near a sealed crate with a hand resting lightly on it. Her head turned sharply when she heard him. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, narrowing his eyes. Her voice was calm but low. "Neither are you." Ryan stopped a few steps away. "You work in cargo. Why are you in a restricted zone?" Instead of answering, she reached up and pushed her hood back. Ryan's breath caught. Her face was not like the dock workers. Her skin was smooth, almost luminous, with faint glowing lines tracing from her temples down her neck. Her eyes were a shade of gold he had never seen before, sharp and intense, like they could see right through him. For a moment, neither spoke. The air felt heavier. "You're not just a worker," Ryan said slowly. She glanced toward the security cameras and stepped closer. "Forget you saw me. Go back to your work." "That's not going to happen," he replied, crossing his arms. "You're hiding something." She pulled her hood back up, shadowing her face again. "If you keep asking questions, you'll get yourself killed." Before Ryan could press her, a sharp beep echoed from her wrist device. Her posture tensed, and she glanced down the hall. "They're here." "Who?" Ryan asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and moved fast, disappearing into a side maintenance door. Ryan stared after her, his gut telling him he had just stepped into something dangerous. An hour later, the port was crawling with patrol guards. A group of armored alien enforcers moved between bays, decks, flashing a hologram image to anyone who would look. Ryan caught a glimpse. It was her face without the hood. The image was sharper than his memory, but the glowing markings were unmistakable. One of the guards shouted to the crowd, "High-value fugitive. Large reward for information leading to her capture." Workers began whispering. Some eyes lit up at the thought of credits. Ryan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. When his shift ended, Ryan didn't go home. Instead, he searched the lower tunnels of the port, areas most avoided after dark. The smell of oil and rust filled the air, and dim lights flickered overhead. He found her in a shadowed corner, back against the wall, breathing hard. "They're looking for you," he said quietly. "I told you to forget me," she replied without opening her eyes. "You're in trouble," Ryan said. "What did you do?" "I refuse to obey," she answered simply. Footsteps echoed down the tunnel. 3 figures emerged from the darkness. Bounty hunters, their armor scratched but their weapons ready. The one in front grinned, showing sharp teeth. "End of the line, Princess." Ryan's eyes widened. "Princess?" he muttered under his breath. She didn't move at first. Her head stayed bowed, her hands hidden under the sleeves. The lead bounty hunter stepped closer, reaching out to grab her shoulder. In one fluid motion, she caught his wrist, twisted it hard, and slammed him to the wall. The other 2 lunged, but she moved faster than Ryan's eyes could follow, ducking, striking, disarming them in seconds. Their weapons clattered to the floor. She stood over the 3 groaning hunters, her golden eyes glowing faintly under the hood. Ryan's chest tightened. "You're not a worker," he said again, almost to himself. "No," she replied, her voice low and steady. "And if you want to stay alive, you'll walk away now." But Ryan knew he wasn't walking away. Whatever she was running from, he was already part of it now. Ryan followed her through the narrow tunnels, his footsteps echoing softly. She didn't look back, but she didn't tell him to leave either. The dim lights flickered overhead, casting her shadow long against the rusted walls. Every turn they took seemed to lead deeper into the forgotten parts of the port, away from the busy docks and towards silence. "What's your name?" he asked as they stepped over a broken pipe. She hesitated. "Kayla, Kayla," he repeated quietly. "Why are they calling you a princess?" She gave a bitter smile beneath her hood. "Because I am one, but I don't want to be." Ryan frowned. "You're running from your own people?" "Yes," she said, her voice sharp now. "My father promised me to a warlord in exchange for peace. I would rather die than belong to him." Ryan didn't know what to say. He'd heard of arranged bindings in alien cultures, but warlords were dangerous, powerful, cruel, and untouchable. If one wanted her back, it meant there would be no safe place for her. They stopped when the tunnel opened into a small abandoned storage room. Kayla checked the corners, making sure it was empty. She sat down on an overturned crate, pulling the hood lower. "You should go back," she told him. "You've seen too much already." "Not going to happen," Ryan said firmly. "They'll kill you, or worse." Her golden eyes flashed. "And helping me will get you the same fate." A loud metallic clang echoed in the distance, followed by heavy boots. Ryan moved closer to the doorway, peering into the tunnel. 4 more bounty hunters were coming fast, their voices carrying in the quiet. "Found her scent," one growled. "She's close." Kayla stood, her hands hidden inside her sleeves. "Stay behind me." The hunters stepped into view, weapons raised, the leader's gaze fixed on Kayla. "End of the run, little royal. The warlord will pay extra for you alive, but I don't mind delivering you in pieces." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Try it," the leader laughed. "A human? You'll be dead before you blink." Kayla's stance shifted, her weight balanced. "Last warning," she said coldly. They moved in. It was over in seconds. Kayla spun low, knocking one hunter's legs from under him. Her hand shot out, catching another's weapon before it could fire. A burst of blue energy lit the tunnel as she drove her palm into the leader's chest, sending him crashing into the wall. The last hunter tried to grab her from behind, but she twisted, slamming him to the floor. Ryan had seen fights before, but nothing like this. She was fast, precise, and terrifying. It was like watching a storm in human form. No wasted movement, no hesitation. The hunters lay groaning, their weapons scattered. Kayla turned to Ryan. "We need to move. More will come." They slipped back into the tunnels, winding their way toward the lower market levels. The smell of food stalls hit them first, spiced meats, sizzling oils, and the metallic tang of alien fruits. Crowds bustled through the narrow streets, and Kayla kept her hood low, blending in. Ryan walked close beside her. "If you're really a princess, why not just go to your own palace and make them stop?" "Because my father is the one who ordered my capture," she said flatly. "In his eyes, I am property, not family." Ryan's chest tightened. He had no idea how far she'd run or how long she'd been hiding, but the way she glanced over her shoulder told him she'd been doing it for a while. They ducked into a side alley where the lights were dim and the noise of the crowd faded. Kayla pulled out a small device from her sleeve and checked it. A locator beacon. Its faint red light blinked in warning. "They're tracking me," she muttered. "Can you disable it?" She shook her head. "It's under my skin. Removing it would take hours, and they'd find me before then." Ryan thought for a moment. "Then we'll need a way to mask the signal." She studied him for a long second, as if weighing his usefulness. "You know someone?" "I know someone," he said, though he wasn't sure if that someone would help. Before they could move, a voice called from behind them. "Kayla?" They turned to see an older alien man in a torn vest standing in the shadows. His eyes widened. "It is you. I thought they took you already." Kayla stepped forward. "I need your help, Dren." Dren shook his head nervously. "Too dangerous. There's a bounty on you big enough to buy a city. If they find out I spoke to you..." Ryan's stepped between them. "We just need to mask a tracker signal. That's it." Dren looked from Ryan to Kayla, his lips pressing into a thin line. Finally, he sighed. "Follow me. But if this goes wrong, I never saw you." They followed him through twisting back alleys until they reached a small repair shop. Inside, Dren locked the door and pulled out a strange metal box from under the counter. "This will scramble the signal for maybe 12 hours, he said, attaching a patch to Kayla's arm. "After that, you're on your own." Kayla's shoulders relaxed slightly as the blinking red light on her device went dark. "Thank you." Dren's eyes softened. Your mother would be proud you ran, but they won't stop, child. They'll tear this port apart to find you. Kayla glanced at Ryan. Then we should be gone before they start. Outside, the air was cooler, but Ryan could feel the tension growing. Somewhere out there, dozens of bounty hunters were now blind to Kayla's signal. But when the scrambling ended, they would be back on her trail, faster and more dangerous than before, and Ryan knew they had only one night to disappear. The lower market was alive with lights and voices, but Ryan could feel the danger hiding in every corner. Kayla stayed close, her hood pulled tight as they moved between stalls selling strange weapons, old ship parts, and steaming bowls of food from a dozen worlds. Every time someone glanced too long at her, Ryan's hand moved to the small shock pistol at his belt. They didn't speak much. The memory of the bounty posters was still fresh in Ryan's mind, and the thought of every greedy pair of eyes in this port hunting them made his stomach turn. Kayla walked like someone who had been hunted before, always aware, always ready to move. They reached the far end of the market where the bright stalls faded into darker streets. Ryan led her through a narrow path between two tall storage buildings until they came to a small metal door with a faded sign above it. He knocked twice, paused, then knocked once more. The door opened a crack, revealing a man with oily hands and tired eyes. "Ryan, didn't expect you back so soon." "Need a favor, Grant," Ryan said. "A big one." Grant's gaze shifted to Kayla, taking in the hoodie, the way she avoided his eyes. "Who's your friend?" "Someone who needs to get off this rock," Ryan replied. Grant raised an eyebrow. "You asking for a smuggle job? That costs more than you can pay." "I can pay," Ryan lied. "We just need a small ship. Quiet, no questions." The mechanic stepped back, letting them in. The smell of fuel and heated metal filled the small hangar. A half-repaired shuttle sat on the platform, its panels open. Tools and scrap littered the floor. Grant crossed his arms. "What's the bounty on her?" Ryan froze. "What makes you think?" "She's hiding her face, moving like she's waiting for someone to shoot at her," Grant said. "I've seen that look before. Tell me the truth." Kayla stepped forward. "There's a price on my head, but if you help us leave, you'll be paid in more than credits." Grant gave a short laugh. "What's worth more than credits?" She reached into her sleeve and pulled out a small, flat crystal that shimmered with shifting colors. Grant's eyes widened. "Is that—" "A royal seal," she finished for him. "It can grant you safe passage into any protected world in the Jurok system. Even worlds your kind aren't allowed to enter." Grant looked at Ryan. "You didn't tell me you were hiding royalty." "I didn't know until a few hours ago," Ryan said. Before Grant could answer, the sound of engines roared outside, too many to be normal traffic. He ran to the security screen on the wall. Ryan followed his gaze and saw 3 black-armored ships landing near the market. Soldiers in dark uniforms were spreading out, scanning faces, showing Kayla's hologram to everyone they passed. "They're here," Kayla said quietly. Grant cursed. "If they search here, we're all dead." He pointed to the shuttle. "Get in. Now." Ryan and Kayla rushed up the ramp while Grant closed the hangar doors. The shuttle's interior was bare, 2 seats in the front, a small cargo space in the back. Kayla slid into the co-pilot seat, pulling her hood even lower as Grant powered the engines. The comm system crackled. A cold voice came through. "This is Commander Varen. All citizens remain in your current location. We are searching for a dangerous fugitive. Cooperation will be rewarded. Resistance will not." Kayla's hands clenched in her lap. "He's one of the Warlord's commanders." Ryan glanced at her. "He knows you're here?" "He'll know soon." Grant worked quickly, muttering under his breath. "We can't take off without clearance. If I try, the port defense guns will tear us apart. We'll need a distraction." Ryan's mind raced. "The fuel depot," he said finally. "If something goes wrong there, security will pull ships away from the docks." Grant smirked. "You always did think like a criminal." Ryan grabbed a small charge from the supply rack. "I'll handle it. Keep the engines warm." Kayla caught his arm as he passed. "You could die out there. Better me than both of us," he said, pulling free. He slipped out through the side maintenance door and into the dark alleys. The sound of soldiers' boots echoed nearby, but he kept low, moving fast. He reached the fuel depot, a cluster of large storage tanks surrounded by metal fencing. 2 guards stood watch, bored but armed. Ryan tossed a small rock to the far side, drawing their attention, and slipped through a gap in the fence. He placed the charge against one of the smaller tanks and set the timer for 60 seconds. Then he ran. The explosion lit up the night, a thunderous roar shaking the ground. Flames rose high and alarms blared across the port. Ryan could already hear soldiers shouting orders, their search breaking apart as they rushed toward the fire. Back in the hangar, Grant was ready. Ryan sprinted up the ramp and the shuttle lifted off before he was fully inside. The hangar roof slid open and they shot into the dark sky. Below them, the port became smaller and smaller, smoke curling from the depot. Kayla looked at him, her golden eyes catching the light. "You didn't have to do that." "Yeah," Ryan said, breathing hard. "I did." But even as the stars spread out ahead of them, Ryan knew they hadn't escaped yet. Somewhere out there, the commander's ships would be waiting. And when they found them, there would be no hiding left. The shuttle cut through the dark sky, engines humming steady, but Ryan's eyes kept moving to the scanners. Red blips appeared and vanished, patrol ships sweeping the area. Grant kept the flight path low and unpredictable, weaving between cargo lanes and abandoned satellites drifting in orbit. Kayla sat still, but her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, knuckles pale. "They'll expect us to head for open space," Grant said, his voice tense. "We need to lose them before we hit the jump gate." Kayla's gaze stayed on the stars. "They won't stop. Even if we escape the system, they'll follow me anywhere." Ryan leaned forward. "Then we don't just run. We make them think we're somewhere else." Grant glanced at him. "You have an idea?" Ryan tapped the scanner screen. "There's a scrapyard station about 100 clicks from here. No patrol goes near it. It's a maze of broken ships. We hide there until the heat cools down." Kayla's eyes shifted toward him. "And if they search there, then we make sure they can't," Ryan said. Grant changed course without another word, the shuttle banking hard toward the scrapyard. On the scanner, the cluster of dead ships grew larger, their jagged hulls catching the faint light of the nearby moon. As they approached, the wrecks loomed like dark giants. Some were shattered war cruisers, others old trade vessels, all stripped for parts long ago. The scrapyard's central station was barely more than a floating shell with a few working docks. Grant slid the shuttle between two rusted freighters and powered down most of the systems, leaving only minimal life support and emergency lights. "If they scan us now, we'll look like part of the junk." The interior fell into silence, except for the faint hum of air recyclers. Ryan moved to the small viewport, watching the drifting debris outside. "How long do we wait?" "Until I hear word they've moved on," Grant said, settling back in his seat. Kayla stayed quiet, her hood shadowing her face. After a while, Ryan sat beside her. "You've been running for a long time, haven't you?" She didn't look at him. "Since the day my father announced the marriage. The Warlord's people came for me before the ceremony could even happen. I escaped, but every step since then has been a fight to stay free." Ryan's voice was low. "Why not join with someone who could protect you? There must be factions that oppose your father." She turned to face him, her golden eyes steady. "There are, but anyone who helps me becomes a target. You saw what happened in the port. Innocent people will be hunted or killed for sheltering me." Ryan didn't have an answer. He understood now why she had tried to keep her distance. The calm didn't last. A sharp beep came from the scanner. Grant's head snapped up. "Contact, 3 ships, heading this way fast." Ryan's stomach tightened. "Patrol?" "Not patrol," Grant said grimly. "Hunters." Kayla stood, pulling her hood back for the first time since they boarded. "Then we can't stay here." Grant's fingers flew over the controls, powering up the shuttle. Outside, the massive wrecks began to drift as if the scrapyard itself was stirring. The hunter ships were already visible now, sleek black craft with glowing red engines, cutting through the wreckage like predators. "They're scanning," Grant said. "If they get a lock, we're done." Ryan thought fast. "We need to move deeper into the yard, lose them in the wrecks." Grant steered the shuttle into a narrow gap between 2 derelict destroyers. The walls of torn metal passed just meters from their hull. Behind them, the hunters followed, their weapons lighting up the dark. "Hold on," Grant shouted as he twisted the shuttle sharply, sliding them under a broken carrier. The hunters' fire slammed into the wreck above, sending shards of metal spinning. Kayla moved to the rear hatch, opening a panel to reveal a small turret control. "If they get close enough, I can hit them." Ryan joined her, strapping in beside the turret's targeting screen. The hunters darted between wrecks, closing the distance. One broke formation, swinging wide to flank them. Kayla tracked it with the turret, waiting until it came into view before firing a burst of blue plasma. The shot tore through the hunter's wing, sending it spinning into a hulking freighter where it exploded in a bloom of fire. "Nice shot," Ryan said, gripping the console. The other two hunters pressed harder, weaving between debris with deadly precision. Grant pushed the shuttle through tighter gaps, scraping the hull once, but the hunters wouldn't break off. "They're hurting us," Kayla said suddenly. "They're driving us toward open space." Ryan realized she was right. If we break cover, their main ship will be waiting. Grant cursed. "Then we go the other way." He slammed the controls, sending the shuttle downward into the shadow of a massive wreck. For a moment, the hunters lost sight of them. Ryan watched the scanner as their signals swept past. "They're still close," he whispered. Kayla's gaze was locked on the viewport. "We can't keep running forever." Ryan met her eyes. "Then we hit them before they hit us." Grant gave a sharp grin. "I like your style, human." The shuttle roared out from the wreckage, engines at full burn. The hunters spun in surprise as Kayla opened fire, blasting at their hulls. One took a direct hit to its cockpit, the other barely dodged and clipped a drifting engine core, spinning out of control. The scrapyard fell silent again, the only light coming from the burning remains of the hunters. Ryan exhaled slowly. "That's two problems gone." Kayla's voice was calm, but her eyes were hard. "No, that was only the beginning." Grant guided the shuttle out of the scrapyard slowly, keeping the engines low to avoid drawing attention. The drifting remains of the hunter ships faded into the darkness behind them. Ryan stayed at the viewport, scanning for any new signals, his mind replaying the fight. They had survived, but Kayla was right. This was only the beginning. "We can't stay in this system," Grant said. "Too many eyes, too many ways for them to track us." Kayla leaned forward. "Where's the nearest jump gate?" 2 days away at this speed," Grant answered. "But it's guarded. They'll have your face on every screen." Ryan turned to Kayla. "What about that royal seal you showed Grant? Can it get us through?" She shook her head. "Not if my father has ordered the gates closed to me. The seal would trigger an alert the second it's scanned." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we need another way out." Grant's eyes flicked toward him. "There's a smuggler route through the Varan Belt. Dangerous, unstable asteroid fields, but no patrols. If you survive, you pop out close to an unmonitored gate." "Sounds like our best shot," Ryan said. Kayla's gaze narrowed. "Or our worst trap." Before anyone could reply, a warning light flashed on the console. Grant swore under his breath. "Someone's locking onto our comm frequency." Ryan moved to the controls. "Can you block it?" "Not in time," Grant muttered. "They're forcing a channel." The speakers crackled, and a cold voice filled the cabin. "Kayla of the House Vera, this is Commander Varan. You have cost my men and my master greatly. You will surrender now, or everyone on that shuttle dies." Kayla's jaw clenched. "Not happening." Varan's tone didn't change. "You cannot run forever. I will find you, and when I do, your human friend will be the first to pay." The channel cut, leaving a heavy silence in the shuttle. Ryan looked at her. "He knows I'm with you." "He knows everything," she said quietly. "They've been watching longer than I thought." Grant adjusted their heading. "Then we keep moving. The Varan Belt it is." The trip toward the belt was tense. Kayla didn't rest, and Ryan couldn't shake the image of the commander's voice in his head. Hours passed, the stars shifting outside the windows until the first glints of the asteroid field came into view. The Varan Belt was massive, thousands of jagged rocks spinning slowly in the void, lit by the pale glow of a distant sun. The largest asteroids were big enough to hide a fleet. The smallest moved so fast they could tear a ship apart on impact. Grant slowed the shuttle and switched to manual controls. "Hold on. This part's going to be rough." They weaved between tumbling boulders, the hull shuddering every time a fragment scraped too close. Ryan watched the scanners, but the constant movement of the asteroids made it hard to spot anything. Then he saw it. A faint blip that wasn't moving like the rocks. "We've got company." Kayla came to his side. "Hunter?" He zoomed in. The shape was wrong for a hunter ship. Smaller, sleeker, built for speed. It darted between the asteroids with unsettling precision. Grant cursed. "Interceptor. They're faster than us in here." The ship swung toward them, and the first volley of plasma fire streaked past the cockpit. Grant rolled hard, dodging between two spinning asteroids. The interceptor followed, closing the distance. Kayla strapped into the turret again. "Keep them in my sights." Grant jerked the shuttle to the side, lining up the shot. Kayla fired, but the interceptor slid out of the path, looping under an asteroid and coming up behind them again. "They're playing with us," Ryan said, gripping the console. The next volley hit the rear shields, shaking the shuttle. Warning lights flared. "Shields at 40%, Grant shouted. Ryan's eyes darted to the asteroids ahead. One massive rock had a narrow tunnel cutting through it, barely wide enough for the shuttle. "Grant, there!" The pilot didn't hesitate. He dove into the tunnel, the asteroid's rough walls blurring past. The interceptor followed, but the space was tighter for it. Kayla took the chance, firing a burst that clipped its wing. The smaller ship spun, scraping the wall and bursting into flame before vanishing in an explosion of rock and light. They shot out the other side of the asteroid, the sudden open space feeling like relief. Grant exhaled. "That's one less problem chasing us." Ryan's relief didn't last. The scanners showed 3 more blips entering the belt behind them. "They're not giving up," Kayla said, her voice calm but cold. Ryan looked at her, the adrenaline still burning in his chest. "Then, neither do we." The shuttle pushed deeper into the Varan belt, the asteroids closing in like the jaws of a trap, and Ryan knew the real fight was only just beginning. The asteroids loomed larger, spinning slowly and unpredictably, their shadows swallowing the shuttle in moments before releasing it back into pale light. Grant kept the controls tight in his hands, eyes locked on the shifting maze ahead. Every turn was a gamble. One wrong move, and they would be smashed into pieces. Ryan monitored the scanners, watching the 3 hunters weaving through the field behind them. They moved like predators, patient but closing in. "They're gaining," he said. "They'll keep gaining unless we make this harder for them," Grant replied. Kayla's eyes flicked toward Ryan. "Meaning?" Grant jerked his chin toward the larger asteroids. "We lead them into the densest part of the belt, the place no sane pilot goes. If they follow, the rocks will do the work for us." Ryan wasn't sure if that was bravery or suicide, but he didn't see another choice. "Do it." The shuttle banked hard, diving deeper into the belt. Massive chunks of rock drifted past, some covered in jagged crystal formations that shimmered faintly. The debris here moved faster, colliding with sharp cracks that echoed through the void. The hunters followed without hesitation, their engines flaring bright as they closed the gap. Plasma fire streaked past the shuttle, close enough that the hull vibrated with the heat. Kayla moved to the turret. "Keep them steady in my sights." Grant dodged around a spinning boulder, then cut between 2 tumbling slabs of rock. The hunters came through a split second later, their formation tight. Kayla fired. The first burst slammed into the lead hunter's shields, sparking across its hull. The ship veered slightly but recovered, returning fire that scorched the side of the shuttle. Warning lights flashed red at Grant's console. "Shields at 20%, Ryan shouted. "They won't last another hit," Grant growled. Ryan scanned the area ahead, searching for any advantage. His eyes locked on a cluster of asteroids rotating around a massive central rock. Between them, narrow gaps flashed open for only seconds at a time before closing again. "There," Ryan pointed. "Through that cluster." Grant's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. He pushed the throttle, lining the shuttle up with the first gap. They shot through just as it closed behind them, like the sound of rock grinding against rock echoing faintly even through the vacuum. The hunters tried to follow, but the second ship clipped the edge of a spinning asteroid. Its wing tore away, sending it spinning into another rock where it exploded in a flash of fire and debris. "That's one," Kayla said, her voice steady but sharp. The remaining 2 hunters pressed harder, their weapons cutting through the darkness in angry bursts. One shot grazed the shuttle's engine housing, and the entire ship lurched. "Main thrusters hit," Grant barked. "We're losing speed." Ryan's mind raced. If they slowed too much, the hunters would pick them apart piece by piece. "Kayla, get ready." She glanced at him from the turret. "For what? For something stupid," Ryan said, moving to the emergency release controls. He opened the rear hatch just enough to deploy 2 cargo canisters they had picked up from Grant's shop. Inside them were scraps of metal and spare fuel cells. As the hunters closed in, the canisters drifted into their path. When the first hunter fired at the shuttle, its shot passed through one of the canisters, igniting the fuel inside. The explosion erupted between the two pursuing ships, shaking them apart. One spun off course, crashing into an asteroid and vanishing in a fiery blast. Only one remained now, but it didn't hesitate. It surged forward, engines screaming, closing the distance, until Ryan could almost feel its weapons locking onto them. Kayla aimed carefully, waiting until the hunter was close enough that missing would be impossible. When it came into view through the turret's scope, she fired a single precise shot. The bolt pierced its cockpit, and the ship went dark before drifting into the side of a massive asteroid. Silence returned to the belt. Only the hum of the shuttle's damaged engines filled the air inside. Grant exhaled hard. That's all of them, for now. Ryan moved to the co-pilot's seat, checking the navigation. The unmonitored gate is 3 hours ahead. Can we make it with the thruster damage? We'll make it, Grant said, though his voice carried doubt. Kayla left the turret and sat beside Ryan, her golden eyes watching the endless field of rocks outside. You didn't have to help me, she said softly. You could have left me in the port and walked away. Ryan met her gaze. And spend the rest of my life knowing you were caught? Not a chance. A faint smile touched her lips before she looked away. Then I'll make sure you live to regret it. The shuttle pushed onward, deeper into the belt. The asteroid slowly began to thin, revealing a stretch of open space ahead. Beyond it, faint but growing larger, was the shimmer of the jump gate. Ryan knew reaching it wouldn't be the end. Commander Varen was still out there, and the warlord's reach stretched farther than he could imagine. But for the first time since this started, he allowed himself to believe they might actually have a chance. The shimmer of the unmonitored jump gate grew brighter with each passing minute, but the tension inside the shuttle only thickened. The damaged thruster groaned under the strain, and warning lights still blinked red on Grant's console. Every small vibration made Ryan glance at the scanners, expecting another ambush. We're close, Grant said, though his voice carried no relief. But the gate is unstable. No official maintenance for years. If we hit it wrong, we could be torn apart mid-jump. Kayla leaned forward, her hood pushed back now, golden eyes locked on the swirling light ahead. Then we don't miss. Ryan checked the scanners again. No ships on the long-range sensors. Wait. His stomach dropped. Something's coming through the gate. A massive silhouette emerged from the swirling light. A black warship, sleek and armored, its hull marked with the warlord's crimson emblem. The sight made Kayla's jaw tighten. It's Varen, she said coldly. The warship blocked the direct path to the gate, its weapon ports glowing as it charged for a shot. Grant's hands tightened on the controls. If we try to go around, the gate will destabilize before we reach it. Then we go through him, Ryan said without hesitation. Kayla turned to him. That's suicide. So is waiting here, he replied. The warship's comm system crackled to life. Commander Varen's voice filled the shuttle, calm and sharp. This is your last chance, Kayla. Surrender, and I will make your death quick. Resist, and I'll scatter your remains across the stars. Kayla stood, her voice like ice. You'll have to catch me first. Varen didn't reply. The warship's cannons lit the void with a volley of plasma fire. Grant rolled hard to the side, the shots missing by meters, but shaking the shuttle violently. The damaged thruster whined in protest. Ryan strapped into the co-pilot seat, fingers moving over the weapon controls. We hit him fast and close. Big ships can't track small targets at short range. Grant adjusted their course. Then hang on. The shuttle roared forward, diving under the warship's first barrage. Kayla manned the turret, sending bursts of plasma fire at the warship's shield generators. Sparks flared across its hull, but the shields held. Varen's ship turned slowly, its bulk making it sluggish. Grant used the moment to dart along its underside, weaving between the massive gun turrets. Bring me under the aft section, Kayla called out. The shields are weaker there. Grant swung the shuttle into position. Kayla's shots hammered the warship's rear plating, one blast piercing through and sending fire spilling into space. Varen's voice returned, colder now. Impressive, but not enough. A sudden shockwave rocked the shuttle as a smaller fighter detached from the warship's hull, moving fast toward them. Its weapons lit up instantly, scoring hits along their side. Ryan gritted his teeth. I'll handle him. He locked the front cannons on the fighter and fired in short bursts. The first shots missed, but the last connected, ripping through one of its engines. The fighter spun out of control before exploding in a blinding flash. The warship was turning again, like its main cannons charging for a direct shot. The glow was blinding, the energy building like a star about to erupt. "We have seconds before that thing fires," Grant warned. Ryan's eyes darted to the scanner, then to the swirling gate beyond the warship. "Grant, take us straight through the blast." "You've lost your mind," Grant snapped. "No," Ryan said firmly. "He'll fire where he thinks we'll be. We stay right in his sights until the last moment, then dive under the shot and into the gate." Kayla's eyes met Ryan's, and a faint, dangerous smile touched her lips. "Do it." Grant cursed, but lined the shuttle up with the warship's main cannons. The glow grew brighter, filling the cockpit with white light. At the last possible second, he threw the shuttle into a sharp dive. The warship's shot tore through empty space above them, the shockwave rattling every bolt in their hull. They shot under the warship, engines screaming, and burst toward the gate. Varen's voice roared through the comm. "No!" Plasma fire rained down from the warship, but it was too late. The shuttle crossed the event horizon of the gate, the swirling light engulfing them. For a moment, everything stretched and twisted, stars becoming streaks of color. Then they were gone. The shuttle emerged into a quiet, empty sector of space. The only sound was the hum of the damaged engines and the slow, steady breaths of its crew. Grant slumped back in his seat. "We made it." Ryan turned to Kayla. "For now." Kayla's gaze stayed on the stars outside. "Vern will follow. My father will send more. But after today, they'll know I'm not coming back willingly." Ryan smirked faintly. "Good. Let them come." She looked at him then, her golden eyes catching the dim cabin light. "You could have walked away, human, but you didn't." "Guess I'm not smart enough to quit," he said. Kayla's lips curved into a rare, genuine smile. "Then I'll make sure you live long enough to regret that." The shuttle drifted on, vanishing into the vast black, two fugitives bound by danger, choice, and the promise of battles still to come.